This material is part of our course Microeconomics. You can find more at professorpro.net. The current video belongs to Unit 1, Demand and Supply, and covers the class, the supply curve. The objective of this class is to address and answer the following questions. What is quantity supplied? What is the supply curve? And when the price of a product changes, is there a shift in supply? Let's start with the basics. Quantity supplied is the amount of a product a firm would like to sell at a certain price. Let's take orange juice as an example and assume that the price is $2 per unit. At this price, firms may want to sell 6 units of it per week. Quantity supplied depends on the profits firms earn from selling a product as well as on their capability to produce it. Ceteris paribus, if the price decreases to $1 per unit, for example, firms will likely want to sell less orange juice than before, the reason being that it is now less profitable for them to continue selling 6 units at that price. Firms might now want to sell 3 units of orange juice at that lower price. They obviously have the capacity to produce less, and selling less orange juice at a lower price could be profitable for them. This change in their quantity supplied after the price of a product changes is what constitutes the supply curve. A decrease in profitability leads to less quantity supplied for 2 reasons. First, if this reduction in profitability is caused by higher production costs or lower sales, firms can reduce their quantity supplied in order to decrease the production costs, which leads to higher profitability per unit again. Second, if selling other products becomes more profitable than before, selling orange juice now becomes relatively less profitable. To increase profits, firms can reduce the quantity supplied of orange juice and increase the quantity supplied of other products. Remember that this is called comparative analysis. Take a look at this. The supply curve shows the relationship between the price of a product and the desire to sell, or quantity supplied, of that product. As the price of a product decreases, the quantity supplied of that product tends to decrease, whereas as the price of a product increases, the quantity supplied of that product tends to increase. We call this link between price and quantity supplied a positive correlation. This correlation is typically seen with the supply curve. The correlation between price and quantity supplied from one firm is also applicable to the total supply of a market. For example, as the price for orange juice increases, producers will supply a greater quantity of it. Note that not every single producer will necessarily increase the quantity they supply. For those that do, they will likely not increase their quantity supplied by the same amounts. However, the total quantity supplied by all producers together tends to increase when the price of a product increases. Now let's see how these concepts can be represented in graphs. Before we draw the supply curve, it is important to understand what is not changing. In our analysis, we assume that the following variables are constant: the costs of inputs of production, regulations and rules relevant to this product, technology, and profit expectations of this product, amongst other things. Having removed external factors from our analysis, we can now form the supply schedule, which is a table of the different quantities supplied of that product at different prices. Remember that when the price of orange juice was $2, firms wanted to sell 6 units of it. When the price decreased to $1, they wanted to sell 3 units instead. For simplicity, let's assume that the correlation between price and quantity supplied is linear. In this case, it means that a $1 change in price leads to a change in quantity supplied of 3 units. The following pairs of data will then show a firm's quantity supplied at every price. We can now plot these data on a Cartesian graph with quantity supplied on the x-axis and price on the y-axis, which is typically how we draw these graphs. Putting our points on the graph and linking them gives us the supply curve. Note that each point on the supply curve is a quantity supplied at a given price. The supply curve is comprised of all these points together, showing different quantities at different prices. Changes in quantity supplied caused by changes in price lead to what we call a movement along the supply curve. This is not the same as a change in supply, which is when the whole line shifts. Note that we are describing a producer's desire to sell a product. We are not necessarily describing their actual sales. In the next unit, we will see that producers might desire to sell a product, but might not be able to do so. To conclude, let's review the questions that this class set out to answer. In this class, we saw that quantity supplied is the amount of a product firms wish to sell at a given price. The supply curve is the mathematical or graphical relationship between the price of a product and its quantity supplied. And finally, a change in the price of a product, ceteris paribus, will lead to a movement along the supply curve, not a shift of it. If you found this video helpful and want to see more, you can find the following example. Thank you.